Everyone for joining us tonight. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Sheila Sharma. I'm the CEO of Portobello Business Centre, and I'd like to welcome you to our second networking event of this year. As you probably know, the purpose of this evening is to give you a chance to connect with other like-minded entrepreneurs, to exchange ideas with them, and hopefully form some new collaborations while you're here as well. We have one more networking event planned before the end of the year, so please keep an eye out for our newsletter, which will have all the details about that, and we'd love to see you there too. I'd like to say a special thank you to Barclays Bank for hosting us and for providing refreshments this evening. A shout out to James Tarrant, who's just standing at the back there, who made this evening possible. Thank you very much, James. And for those of you interested in learning more about what Barclays can offer for business owners, we have a couple of business bankers in the room, over there and over there. Please do reach out to them at some point in the evening. They would love to have a chat with you. So while we're all here to network, we also want to give you some valuable insights to take away to think about in terms of your own business. And on that note, I'm thrilled to introduce our guest speakers for tonight, Amit Patel and Dylan Gandhi, who are the brilliant minds behind BrandSpectra. They'll be sharing some key strategies on how you can sharpen your brand and you can leverage digital marketing to make your business stand out in today's competitive environment. So thank you again for being here tonight, and over to BrandSpectra.
Wow, thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Cool. Do you want to
Yes.
start off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm Dylan.
My name is Amit.
Just checking acoustics. Yeah, it's all right.
Everyone can hear?
Everyone can hear us. Okay, cool. We were thinking whether we do the mics or not, but it's a bit too many, holding too many things. So I've got an echo here, so it's all good. So we are BrandSpectra, and today, as you guys are all here, we are going through three key things, and we focused on visual brand design. We'll explain if you're not too sure what exactly that is. But I think a lot of you are you're all entrepreneurs. You all have businesses at different stages of growth. You're obviously part of this network, so you're looking to connect and grow. So I think you know what a brand is, but if you don't, we do go through that. And branding strategy. So that's kind of the scope of what we're going to talk about in the next 20 minutes or so. This is the bit I just did, so hi again. But we didn't know how many people were going to be here. So lots of people will meet you guys all obviously after we've spoken, but we want to hear from all of you, your businesses and kind of what challenges you're facing. You've got us here, so please do use us whilst we're here. And if you want to pluck some insights from us, we're more than happy to have that chat as well. So I'm Dylan Gandhi. My background, I've spent the last 19 years working in marketing strategy. Specifically, search positioning is the bit that I'm kind of, I guess, most known for. So that's Google search, it's online SEO, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, that kind of space. But a big part of that, though, is what do you put out there to the world? What do you put on Google? What are you looking to get found for? And so brand is a very important part of the whole Google search space, and it's what I bring to the BrandSpectra team is that whole data and insights. And you can add me on Dylan Gandhi at a gazillion things, so you can find me on LinkedIn and what have you. But with Amit, I'm the other creative director at BrandSpectra. I'll hand over to Amit.
Yeah, lovely. No, lovely to meet you all this evening. Hope you're enjoying the warm evening. So obviously collectively as BrandSpectra, we do a few other things, but I think collectively we've got a lot of experience over 30 years of combined experience across marketing, design, brand, and a bunch of other things. But I think hopefully you'll take some insights from this and hopefully something for you to implement within your own businesses. So
just to put on Amit's side on there, he's in the design side. And so Amit is he's worked through publishing and he's worked into retail and professional service positioning. So he's the design side. I'm the what they do once you've designed it. How do people actually find it? So BrandSpectra is the company that we operate together. And again, this is the three key things. We're going to jump straight into it. So again, what this again is using insights that you can pull from various sources and design thinking to put the best version of your business out there for better results. We have to spell it out, but that is essentially what we want to kind of inspire you guys. If there's even one or two things you take from this, you go back home, use it for your own company, use it for your own business, use it for yourself as an individual, and see if there's something that you could do, you could work on, you could reiterate that is a better version of the business that you already put your heart and soul into. So key one, we're actually calling them keys. The key one is this whole idea of being strategic. Be strategic in your approach. I think many of you will be, but it's really important you know your market and you know what your customers like. So when you're looking at brand, when you're looking at branding, and perhaps you're looking at refreshing what you've launched because it doesn't maybe necessarily reflect the company that you started however many years ago, I mean how many months ago, things change quite quickly. But it is really important before you make any big changes, you know what you're doing and you've given it the thorough thought. And I'm going to be going through an example. I don't expect anyone in the room knows Merlon UK, but Merlon UK is a London, was a building company. They came to us in 2017 with that logo on the left and a gripe that they were only getting kind of odd jobs around Merton, and they wanted to aspire to be a bigger building company, have more staff. That's the case study. We'll go through a little bit of how we used branding, how we use brand strategy to help them realize their potential. The first thing, and this is really important, and it was something that we were just talking with Sheila earlier, is a lot of you kind of are working individually. And I think you come to groups like networking sessions like this because you get to share experiences, you get to, it's no longer just you, you've got other people to share your journey with. Well, with branding, it's the same as well. It really is important that you have a team around you, whether that's a team that work with you, whether that's a team that you just assemble a WhatsApp group of people who are, your friends and they bring something to the table. But it's really important that you have a team when you're making decisions on your brand and your business, because if you're just doing it yourself, you get very siloed off and you don't hear everyone's opinion. You don't get that. Actually, what about this? And that what about is very important, because sometimes it's actually that is the most important thing if you're used and set in your way.
Yeah, I think, sorry, Dylan, just on that point, I think some of you might be working individually, which, most businesses do start off like that, but you yourselves, you might have a small team. So it's about bringing those individuals together. So you've got your internal people that you might bring together, as well as the external experts or people to support that vision.
And look, we're consultants, so we obviously are always brought into teams generally when we're hired on to do a project. But okay, you may not be at the stage where you can have a consultant like we are, but you have people around you that advisors. If you're part of a bank like Barclays, there are people here. It's in their best interest for your business to do well. It's a bank, so there are people here that can advise and help guide as well. There's a lot of people that can be part of that core team. Because when you have that core team, that's where you can assemble something called a brand strategy, which is a bit different to your business strategy. A brand strategy is very much focused on what does your business mean to the world? What does your business mean to the person walking down the street who walks past it? They look at it. What exactly are they seeing? What are they interpreting? What are you putting out there? That's kind of the brand of brand strategy. It's a bit different to your business plans, a bit different to how you operate your business, slightly different. It's what you represent in the marketing sense of it. And so with that team and before you do any sort of rebrands or any sort of change of messaging, how many of you in the room here have got have launched the business? So you've got customers, you've got sales coming in. Just want to kind of get a layer. Yeah. And I'm going to assume the other side, maybe you've not yet launched or you're in the thought stage, thinking stage. Sure. All right. So those who have launched a business and they've got it kind of going, hopefully you have got business coming through and you have an idea of what's working and clicking with your customers and what isn't. It's very important that you remember that and you take notes of that because if something's working, it very clearly is a success for you, then you want to lean more into that when you look at what you put out there, when you change your messaging. It's important that you know what's working and you don't suddenly turn that off, because that happens a lot. It's really not surprising. People look at a spreadsheet rather than the actual thing that's keeping the business running. For those of you who haven't yet launched, I'm sure you've got competitors or businesses that you want to kind of maybe have same industry and you'd love to kind of have a similar growth trajectory to them. Do your research, study kind of what's worked for them. What did they change about their business from when they launched to maybe a year in, 2 years in? That information is a little harder to get, but it is there. But look at kind of what people are buying into. And also look at your reputation. So again, those of you who have launched the company, you will have feedback. You'll have people maybe giving you, I like that, I didn't like this. That's something that's very important. if somebody in today's day and age is going to pipe up and say something about your business and give you a little bit of a nudge, actually, I think this is a little bit, we preferred this. I mean, they're taking time out of their day to do that. So do listen to it, because that can help shape, again, what you rebrand, what you refocus your message, your business on. For the company at the bit that I talked about earlier, Merlon, they are, as I said, they were a small, scrappy builder, and his team. And they didn't really think about any of this. So with sales history, we went and looked at initially, well, what exactly are you doing in Merton? They're like, well, we're doing anything because we're trying to run a business. But what we're getting a lot of interest in is these buildings which are old, and they have lots of rules and regulations. They're grade listed, or they're about to be grade listed. And we know the rules inside and out. There you go. That's what people are coming to you for. But until we actually said that, they hadn't even given it a thought. So grade listed buildings was an area for them to specialize in. Reputation, they're very good. People hated their logo because it really was rubbish. But it didn't really say anything. It didn't really emulate anything. They were a little bit embarrassed. People were embarrassed to see that logo. That was a negative. Also, the fact that they were only really local to Merton. They needed to get builders that had cars so they could go further afield. But that's kind of feedback that they got from projects that they worked on. Next thing is, and this is kind of what we're doing here, is talk to and read knowledge holders. So I said the bank's got a wealth of knowledge here, or wherever you bank, wherever you do your business banking with. But talk to the council, talk to incubators, talk to the guys running these programs. They're not running it for no reason. They have lots of data, they have lots of insights. They know what is working within their remit and what isn't. And stuff like the council, they will know what's of interest for them on a council level. If you have a business that is going to be selling to the council potentially, well, you need to know what exactly are they looking for. Things like that are important, and that information is there. People just don't ask. It's someone's full-time job to hold that information at the council. Get to know that person. If you're in the property space, of course, it's second to none, your planning permission. But talk and find those knowledge holders. And the last thing in this thing is collaboration. So I think some people kind of, again, they don't think about this, but you don't want to necessarily go to a competitor and team up with them and go, hey, can you share some insights and we'll give you some of our insights. But if you have a common client or a common customer, or even geographically a commonality with other people, kind of like what we're all here with Kensington, right? So, and Chelsea. That means you have shared goals. And that means if all of you pull together and you all share insights and learnings and things that you've kind of experienced together, which is, you can do something together. So with our builder, he had never really thought about, well, I work with lots of other suppliers. I've never really thought about, maybe we talk to them and say, oh, you're doing this project. Can we tag along? What do we need to do to kind of get in on that project? What do we need to look like as a company for you to have us ride along with you? So that was a massive game changer for our builder. And what happened is we took in 2017 this company into 2018 to this company. So within 3 months. And so the logo needed to go. It needed to, nothing overcomplicated, but it needed to be something that looked elevated. But then we needed a common font, because when they use it in Google Docs and what have you, it had to be quite straightforward. We created a website that showed the best of the projects that they had worked on, and then we added to that website. And this is in South Kensington. Maybe you recognize it, maybe you don't, but that is the first project that they rode along with, and they started making a name for themselves in London. This was in 2018. Flash forward to today, and it is they're working in St. George's Hill on a few of the properties there. So they wouldn't have got to this if they hadn't done all of that work 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And so that's what data and insights allow you to do. Let you look at what works, what doesn't work, and then you make strategic decisions based on that. Yeah. I hand over to Amit now.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Dylan. So I think with the Merlon example, I think a lot of that is down to like this concept of like brand strategy. So understanding, yourself as a brand. You might have, on a high street, you might have 2 cake suppliers or 2 cake shops. But if you think about the people or the teams that are behind those brands, they're all different. Each of us in the room have got individual experiences that we bring to the table. So it's about bringing those out within the brand. So, if you're a founder, for example, then what matters to you can be reflective of that brand. So just bear that in mind as you're thinking about potential brand strategy. So I think we'll move on to key thing number 2, which is craft visual design and identity. Develop a look, personality, and messaging around your brand. So we've done the strategy, we've done the insights, we've got all of that information, which is brilliant. And I think it's imperative to spend time on that. So now it's about taking that information and building the design essentially. And it's about leveraging insight. So I just want to run through an example, which is probably obvious to all of us. We all use Google on a daily basis. But Google is a company with hopefully a good reputation. They've been around for a number of years, and we're very familiar with it. And then even from a visual point of view, if I mention Google to you, a lot of these colors would pop up in your head. Some others use the apps on a daily basis. So they've created that visual kind of connection with us. But if you think about Google when they started in, close to 30 years ago, they had that iteration of the brand identity, which, I think a lot of us in the room could probably agree that it looks kind of a little bit, under par, and it's not where it should be. But if you look at this evolution, and this is the thing about design, is that where you start and where you might be in 5 or 10 years is going to be very different to where you are right now. And I think it's always about that evolution. And it's about building design as you move forward. So one of the companies that we worked with, we carried out the brand strategy sessions, workshops, activities. Then we kind of, this is with a company based in the Midlands. So a technology company, IT services, etc. And it's a 30-year-old company, 35 years plus. So they obviously had founding members which were looking to retire now. So new blood came into the business, new partners came in, and they were quite keen to kind of take things to another level. They had credibility in the space, they had a lot of retainership, clients. So now it was about, if you think about a technology company, Apple, Microsoft, IBM, very powerful players in that space. So it's about elevating through the visual. So when you see something, you take them seriously. And we all, I guess, intuitively kind of think that, and a lot of us will base a reputation on what we see.
One thing I'll say with Microtech is obviously the logo is very indicative of the early 90s in technology, the old IBM, even the old Apple logos.
Correct.
And whilst they had all evolved, they were still using this logo in 2020, 2021. So they looked dated. They didn't look up to speed when you just saw the logo, never mind talking to them.
Yeah.
So that's how important what you're putting out there into the world. It needs to feel representative of the company you are running today.
Correct. 100%. I totally agree. And I think when they came to us, they came with, obviously for some odd reason, there's the H, which is on the other side, which is capitalized. It didn't quite make
Well, they'd forgotten
much
why it
sense.
was a capital H. So
there was no particular reason for that. So kind of flash forward, and then through various iterations, we came up with this identity. Now, obviously, it's a simple, kind of clean technology approach, you could say. But again, we went through various iterations to get to this point. But now, obviously, there's no, and again, this is something that you can maybe think about for yourselves. If you've got a brand identity, some companies might include a tagline. And I think for this, we created various other iterations with the tagline. So you have your base identity, which needs to work across various mediums. If you think about print, there's flyers on the table. So your brand identity needs to work for print, it needs to work online, it needs to work as an app icon. So just think about these things as if you're developing at this stage. Another company is the Cake Solution. So formerly they were the Cheesecake Shop, which was a global brand. They had operations in Australia and the UK and within Europe. So I think they sold their UK business, and new kind of people took over and rebranded as the Cake Solution. So this they've got kind of close to 10 stores across the Midlands. So we went through the exercises, and then we kind of came up with a few options, and then we came to this. So what was interesting about this, they had a lot of credibility. They'd been around for a long time, and people were familiar with the old previous identity. So we didn't want to lose those customers. So we needed to maintain that professionalism and credibility. So,
But
as they changed,
the new team coming in, and you'll start seeing this logo around London soon. They had scale ambitions. So whilst you have the existing customer base, you've got to keep very happy, and that's where the data and the insights. There was a lot there because people love their cake. You have a lot of new locations where it's a completely new company. So it's got to also compete with the high street as it is right now, as you see here. So I think one thing that was quite important was that to make it clear it's a new version, the cheese came out of it because they can diversify. They can do more than just cheesecake. They can do other types of desserts. And it's for every occasion, not just birthdays, which I think is what they had been maybe siloed off into being, or like dessert parlor type of cakes. They can do any sort of occasion. And that was important to put on the logo because it can't be missed.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think Dylan alluded to some of the thinking behind that. So in some of those earlier sessions, obviously the cheesecake shop was important, but kind of going forward, they wanted to look into the corporate space. They wanted to look at franchising and other opportunities. When we think of cake, yes, it's a celebration, but then beyond that, how can other people enjoy cakes in different circumstances? I think I mentioned it with the Google identities that you've always got to be like looking to evolve. I think a lot of people will invest, if they've got a fleet of vans, they'll brand them up nicely. But it's not to say that you should change that every year. I think just as kind of technologies, fashions change, I think it's always good to elevate and have a look at and see what others might be doing to kind of heighten your brand as well. So I think some of the basics that we could maybe just touch on is obviously in terms of branding and identity and visuals, I think color plays a very important role, and also typography, and I think legibility is also very important. That you can have a beautiful logo that's nice and scripty, but if it's not legible, it will just pass people by. So it's always important to think about these things when you're in that design process.
Get back just one before there. Sure. Another thing as well. So this is just one of those things that maybe you can take away and have a look at your logo, your company logo. Like, is there a color associated with your business? And it's a subconscious thing, but we're in Barclays right now, and they kind of own that color blue. And the font, we've had to do some Barclays thing. It's impossible to find. It's their own custom font. So it's like, and I think maybe we got away with using an imitation, but the thing is like, it is, they own that, and they own the eagle. It's an eagle. Some people don't necessarily know what it is, but, and so they've thought about color. They thought when you're walking down the high street, we need to be a different blue to NatWest. Is NatWest blue, purple?
Purple, red.
Purple, blue. Well,
Purple
okay,
and red,
I'm maybe showing age there. I thought it was blue. But they've got to stand out. You've got to see it. You've got to identify it. So people come in and they bank with us, right? So that's how important font and color is. And the same mentality can go into your business. If you think about online, somebody's got 12 tabs open. What will make them remember your website? And color is one of those things that people just don't think about when it comes to, say, their website, their logo. Yeah. So do have a look at that. If you've got a black and white logo, does it need to be black and white?
Maybe inject a color.
Inject something in it. Even a line or something can make a massive difference. So just have a think on that if you haven't already.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I think just maybe perhaps another example that we're all familiar with is Coca-Cola. So when you think of Coca-Cola, straight in your head, you've got the red, you've got potentially black, the bottle. When you think about the bottle, it's a very synonymous thing, that we kind of all know about. Even though we might not drink it, we know what it is, and they've developed that, and it's taken obviously a number of years to get to that point, but every business has that potential. Just as another thing to think about is obviously your photography and your visuals, and they also kind of tie into the design. So for example, depending on what you're doing, you might have grayscale photos, but if you've got actual brand colors, you might decide to kind of inject those into the photography. And these days, everyone's got a smartphone. We can all take relatively decent photos, but again, kind of getting someone on board to kind of stage that, to manage that aspect, can really help make your pictures shine. So I think, obviously we talked about brand identity, which is really kind of a critical thing, but then all of the other assets that you're building around that, whether it's your website or your kind of printed materials or signage, photography will play a big part.
Yeah. And also, I mean, just to go very quickly on here as well, what you're putting out there right now at these beginning stages of your website, the way the internet is, it will always be around. So do have a think of, do these images best reflect my business or what we're trying to accomplish? Or do the people in my photos on the website or that we use in our brochures, are they our customers or are they just stock and you just did the easy thing and found, whatever kind of looked good? Because things stick around now. They didn't used to, they do now. I've learned that because like if you type my name in and go Google Images, you find some awful photos of me from God knows when, but like they are there, right? And so I kind of wish I had a little bit more quality control when I was at uni. But that's the nature of it. In your business, is the same thing as well. Don't obviously put things that you're not too sure you're going to actually keep as a service or as an offering as well. Because again, you maybe set a different expectation to the company that you actually want to run. So as we were kind of saying earlier, and this is the last key, and this really is kind of a get yourself thinking. There's a couple of things we just put into at the end, but is brand experiences build over time. So some people do a rebrand and they're expecting overnight success, and that's not the case. And we've done this long enough to tell you that like if it worked that way, we live up in the Bahamas. Like it doesn't quite work that way. What it is that you have existing customers that get reacclimatized to whatever you've changed and you're putting out there. But you also have new customers that again need to maybe they'll connect a little better to what you're putting out there versus what you were doing before. It still takes time. It still have to build trust. It's not an overnight win, or maybe you do see a massive uplift, but eventually it will level out. The thing is, when you go with the mindset of building a brand over time and building the brand experience over time, I think you kind of go, each individual win, you kind of notice more and you get more insights because you are seeing, okay, we did this post today and quite clearly people engaged with it. People picked up the phone, people did the form, whatever your conversion is for your business. It's a little bit more measurable than if you just unload everything at once.
Yeah, I think just on that point, I think you think of it as a marathon rather than as a sprint. Obviously, you might start fast, but then over time, that brand equity comes about.
And these are just different ways that you can kind of over time build something with this idea. So I've said we're brand experts. That's kind of people come to us because they want one of these books. It's a brand guideline, and some of you may have it for your business, some of you may not. So you may be thinking of something like this. So what this is that all of the thinking done behind your brand, your messaging, your repositioning, whatever the previous two sections you come out with, is in a book here that you can give to every single person that works with you because it's very clear what your company stands for, what the colors are, what the logo is, what the key taglines are, all of that stuff is in that. And this is Hilliers. They're a high-end optician. They did these in North, plug them, in North Harrow. I should do. But we did this for them because they wanted a fresh guideline book that they use everywhere. So this book is used for everything in the shop, everything online, even right down to the bags that they give you the glasses in, the cases, even the fabric to clean the glasses are done to the color palette here. They really went all in on it, but it means everything is cohesive.
So just a quick one on this point is, I think if you've got suppliers, even we mentioned about photographers, if we give them a document that says, this is our brand, this is our mission, these are our colors, this is the style, this is the look, feel, and personality of our brand. It's one of those things that you yourself as a founder don't need to spend time educating someone on it. So they've got that, they've got that point of reference. So it makes your life a little bit easier. You gain that time, and then it also informs the supplier, whether it's a photographer or a videographer or even a website designer. Because on your journey, there's going to be other people that you interact with as you build your brand.
Oh, just like you said about suppliers, actually, because I literally went and picked these up a couple of weeks ago. So one thing that they wanted was high-end glasses, like the international designers allowing them to sell those frames here. So that was a big part of why they wanted to rebrand. So that when they sent this to Tom Ford opticians, no, not opticians, Tom Ford, the eye makers, glassware makers, they're comfortable. They feel, yeah, this is our standard. So that was a big deal because they went from kind of small obscure brands to now, on the website for most of these designer brands, they'll find Hilliers. And that's again through what they wanted to put out there and what they got as a result. And this is all in the last 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
So it can be a quick turnaround, and that's transformational. If people are coming to you because you are the official London agent for a designer brand, That's foot traffic through your door you wouldn't otherwise get. Microtech we saw earlier. So this just shows you kind of what we do next once you've got the logo. But the main thing really is that I kind of like the fact that the new logo next to the Microsoft Partners logo looks better than the old logo did, because it kind of looked like it traveled back in time on the left of the page and then was contemporary on the right. But you make sure that all these touch points, they're called touch points, where people engage with your brand, they all feel like what you're trying to put out there. So with Microtech, they wanted to feel like a slick operation. So we make sure every sort of area follows that same brief.
Yeah. No, great. Yeah. No, I think just backtracking to this slightly is, and it's about that experience. So obviously we've created, we've done a lot of the thinking, we've done the creating, but now it's about, accessing those touch points and, creating that brand experience. So just moving on to the cake solution that we mentioned earlier. So again, another touch point, as Dylan mentioned, even everything down to, that experience is actually picking up something and drinking it. And we've got to be thinking about all of these things as part, and the design then feeds into this, and then even down to the messaging, like don't forget the cake, a little bit tongue in cheek, and that was just down to the founder, because the founder was very much like that. So a little bit of his influence kind of came through to that. And then even down to, another touch point, especially for a cake company, would be their boxes. I think that was obviously the printed materials, and a lot of the, I guess in today's world, a lot of us, I mean, if you're not on social media, you're missing a trick. But with the cake solution, again, they've, on a regular basis, they've got these kind of visual assets that are going out. So they'll have regular photo shoots, and they also do these custom cakes as well. So it's about bringing all of those things together, using the colors, using the typography, getting the right kind of composition on those. There's also, I mean, there's times when we're working with photographers and we're advising them, say, this is the type of shot that we need. And then they have, throughout the year, they've got campaigns. So I think we're working on, obviously Halloween is later on this month, next month. So we're working on assets for that now. So I think as a business, things can be quite seasonal. So it's about kind of looking at those. I think just wanted to draw your attention to this one. So everyone's heard of Belvoir Farm. So this was, again, a collaboration. So it's working with that other company. It's, it takes things down another route, and it's just another opportunity for brands to kind of move down. So I think that was pretty much the overview that we wanted to kind of go on. And we just wanted to reiterate that it is a journey. It's not a flash in the pan. There's lots to it, and it doesn't actually
it doesn't end once you kind of do the rebrand, because the thing is, people taste change. But what you've got to be as founders, and we're founders as well, is completely happy with what you're putting out there, and it's got to feel like it's what you are working towards. You're doing all those long hours, and it's all got to kind of feel like it's representative of where you want to be, what you want to be, all your hopes, all your aspirations, all of that's got to be in there. And then naturally what happens is you'll know when suddenly, say, something's changed and there's a seismic shift maybe in the industry, and suddenly a different product has to be the focus. That all happens, and it does happen. And we've had campaigns where suddenly it's been great for a few months, and then the industry changed, trends have changed, and you then need to change what your focus is on. And that's where you have to then come back to this. And you maybe don't change the logo, but you maybe change your tagline, or maybe you change the products you cover on your social media. You have to always be dynamic. You always have to be keeping track on what's happening out there in the world. But that's part of the business, and that's part of the brand journey. I'll be honest, it's also why some people offload it to others. So when you get to that size and you want to just focus on the business operations or investments or whatever kind of your area is, you bring someone in who deals with all that headache. But right now, I think a lot of you is one of those extra caps to juggle, but there's lots out there for you to help you on that journey. So hopefully,
it's given good overview. I think just before we go to question, I think it's it is that journey that you kind of go through. And I think especially during COVID, I think there's companies that we were working with, and they had to, they were pivoting. A lot of people were, struggling at that time. So I think obviously myself and Dylan, we try to be, I think as I guess as an individual, having a little bit of empathy and understanding what was going on at that time. I think that helped us to refocus some of the work we were doing with some of the clients at that time.
Yep.
And I think I think design is one of those things that can really kind of move the needle for a business. It can be done, and I think we've, just as individuals over time, we developed that, an affinity with something. I think a lot of us will either be Android or Apple, and if you look at their visuals, their marketing, and their design, they're very much, they're very much enticing to their audiences. And I think it's just about reinventing yourself and evolving, as we mentioned earlier. So.
Yeah, cool. I mean, was there any questions anyone had? Yeah, sorry, yeah, go for it.
Sorry. You mentioned about brand logo, and how do you link that up to leads or success? How do you, if you're putting a new logo in,
yep,
or you rebrand it, how do you then link that up to say, yeah, that's succeeding?
So I think it's kind of what do you have in place to track that? Like, is putting the right things in place. So what business do you have, I'm asking?
It's a B2B platform.
Okay.
Companies and supply chain.
All right, so you're talking every day with people, right? All right, so I'll give you an example with the builder.
Yeah.
So when we do the fresh logo, it's not just the logo, it's everything, it's the whole brochure. They then feel confident they can give that to the principal contractor and say, we want to bring these people in to do the loft or whatever the extra work is. And then it's because of the rebrand and how you've repositioned, because it literally is the confidence of the other person to refer that business over to you as a result of that work. That's kind of like, you have to be on top of it. You need to know that happened. So they need to be talking. For something that's a little bit kind of less conversational, say it's Microtech, for example, a lot of their inquiries come through the website. Okay, look, you have to take a little bit of we did a fresh website, we did a fresh logo, we did fresh messaging, and we get 20 more leads a week than we had before. That's kind of like logical. And then you always follow up after the fact. Bearing in mind, we still ongoing contract with them, so they attribute it to us. But you would keep tabs on it and have to kind of logically deduce it was there. Very few people are going to say, oh, you did a new logo and that's why we gave you business. It's usually other things around it that you did alongside the logo.
I think, I think it's a good point. I think we focused a lot on the logo and the colors, but it is about, if we look to point key 3, it's about that brand experience. So I think if you've got an identity or if you've got a logo and it was, it might be worth just reviewing it, just refreshing it. I mean, more than happy to have a call, but I think it's about making it fresh, making it relevant. Even down to our mobile phones. We've all got these. We've got the app icons. So I think a lot of kind of legacy businesses that have been around for a while, they might not have something that fits in that small space that is identifiable.
How people use logos today and things like that. So It's not just the logo; it's everything around it that you enable. Yeah. So that's kind of what the brand experience was. Yeah. I think maybe we have time.
Can I suggest that we turn the air conditioning?
Yes. Okay.
Yes. And if anybody would like to speak with, they'll be in the room. Please grab them.
Slow roasting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.